Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pool Box Pals. I am one of your pals. My name is Monk, and with me is my buddy, also my pal. Oh, with a preemptive beer crack. That is my good buddy Mark over there. How you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Just cracked open a 10 barrel brewing pub beer. That's
A
my
10-barrel Bullen Pub beer,
no,
my
10
friends.
10 barrel brewing
10-barrel brewing. Wow.
pub beer.
Pub beer. My
Yeah.
goodness. Look at you and your
It's
diversity
my
in
well, it's
beers.
my it's my camping and bowling beer.
Oh man. You are a
Favorite.
bowler. I think this is something that we probably don't talk about also on the podcast and also off the podcast, but you go bowling once a week. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, sometimes twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's a family thing, but it's always been like a pastime, like hobby of mine, like all growing up. I used to go to when I still lived in Idaho, I went to Bulldog Lanes all the time with my mom and my brother. And you
Oh,
still had
shout
to
out to Bulldogs Lane.
well, it's gone now.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn. I'm sorry to bring up.
Yeah. And so yeah, that one's gone, but it was still like, had the magnifying projector that put it up onto a screen above you and you had to do everything by hand. It didn't like count it for you. Am I that old that you don't remember that?
No, I
You're
remember that, but I've never
yeah.
done it. I
Yeah.
I I listen. I I'm not going
You're
out to
not a
bowling.
bowler.
I know I am. I was on a bowling league in high school, and we won. I had some bowling trophies. I had my own bowling ball as
Ah,
a kid too.
what?
Yeah,
That's pretty
um,
cool, man. I've
yeah, but
never even,
it's
well, actually, no, I do. I do have my own bowling ball, but I'm afraid to get it drilled because my wife gave it to me for my birthday last year, and it's a Star Wars one, and on one side of it is Boba Fett, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if I want to use this. It's just so nice. Like I'd rather put it in a glass case.
that's kind of the
So
stuff. That's kind of the problem for like nerds is that if you try to buy something nice like that, they're just gonna be um, like my
yeah,
girlfriend bought me an Ant-Man pipe, and I've never smoked out of it because I'm like, well, I don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
to
right.
I don't want to ruin the pipe. And actually, it's right here. I can grab it for you if you want to see it.
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
look at that.
that's rad.
Yeah, isn't it sick? So yeah, I will never smoke out of that.
If you ever do smoke out of it, make sure you find something that makes you feel small.
I was just gonna say that. I'm like, I gotta smoke something that makes me go "Wah!" Or big, because he also he grows, but I guess he's not called Ant-Man when he's big. He's called Giant Man because that was
He's
the
giant. Giant
70s or something when he was introduced. And
giant man.
the Ant Vengers. I want that to happen so
The
bad.
ant man. Yeah.
I think about it. I'm like, just bring all the Ant-Man characters together. Do it for. I
Ooh.
mean, they kind of did it for an arc, but nah,
Let's give this a hot minute because She-Hulk finished last week, right?
sure did.
Sure did. And where were you on it? Like, I mean, like
My
what part of
couch.
the fence are you on?
I
Or
thought it was
side?
perfectly enjoyable. I think there's like on when it comes to like the culture around like MCU movies or TV shows or whatever, it either has to be like the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And
Yeah.
I think it's okay for some things to just be okay. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about like too many okay things are a problem, but I don't think it was like a bad okay. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was something new. It was something different. It was something outside of the park. They took a lot of swings. Not everything necessarily landed. I know, I've
Yeah.
said elsewhere, I can't remember if I said this on the pod, but I wasn't a fan of the Wrecking Crew and that they really did them dirty. But I mean, the
Yeah.
problem with like having so many villains and stuff like that is like, are we ever going to see the Wrecking Crew in, I guess,
Yeah. Well,
part of,
I guess I was talking about that with Titania. Just
mm,
like I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, honestly, like for how cool of an actor they got for that,
yeah,
like the amount of screen time that she got was, it to me it was like this was like a wasted thing, but also at that, she nor like the Wrecking Crew nor Intelligentsia were really the villain of the show. And
Yeah.
the show to me has always been super brilliant, and they prove their brilliancy by pointing out that the actual villain of the show is the audience,
Yeah.
especially the ones who hated the show. Like they were like the true villains of that show because it was different. There was so much that they had to like say negatively about it rather than
Mm,
just appreciating it for being a drama comedy lawyer show, which is what
right.
it was. It was not a superhero like a lot of action show.
Right.
And I've said it before, like I just appreciate what Kevin Feige's doing with the MCU right now because everything that's come out in Phase 4, it's a different genre of a movie than we have previously seen. And I think that's why people struggle to pick up on what's going on with it. You know, Thor: Love and Thunder is the like the poorest reviewed MCU movie.
Yeah, but I would agree with that. I was talking to my guy at my comic book shop and today about that movie, and I personally was really let down by that because I
Yeah.
really loved Ragnarok. I do think that they tried to do something with it that may have been like a little bit outside of it, the park or
Yeah.
whatever. But I I mean, honestly, we could spend a lot of time with this because I think just Taika Waititi doesn't have a respect for the idea of gods in general, and then all of them were just kind of a joke.
Yeah.
So like I'm not
There
upset
is
about it, you know? Like I'm not
yeah.
gonna burn all my Taika Waititi merchandise because I don't have any.
Yeah.
But like things are allowed to
But
be
you would
swing
if
and
you
misses.
did.
No, like I'm not gonna get like that upset about like anything
Yeah.
really.
Well, I
Um
mean, for me being like a Thor person, but also like
mhm,
I'm just a Taika Waititi fan. Like I liked him before he did Ragnarok.
yeah.
Because I remember when Where the Wilder People came out.
Mhm.
Like I loved that movie. And then, you know, he's been a part of a lot of you know, he's one of the Kiwis. He's like part of the Flight of the Concords crew. Like
Yeah.
he's one of that crew. And so I've always just really appreciated that group. And so I went into it being just a fan of him, like a fan of Thor, and just a fan of the idea of what Marvel again is doing. And like Thor: Love and Thunder was a rom com, and
Yeah.
it played to that very well. It was a action rom com, but still like the rom-com tropes that were throughout it were just brilliant, and I loved it for that. Is it the best Marvel movie? Hands down, no, it is not. Like
Yeah.
but
That's
is
The
it
Dark Knight.
but to me, is it the worst? No, hands down again, no, it is not the worst like MCU movie.
Oh,
um
really? See, I would
yeah,
argue I think it might be.
I know, and
Um,
a lot of people are on in that.
well, Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is I guess uh, anyways,
Iron yeah.
uh it's Iron Man 3. I've never went back to it. I was really looking forward to the Mandarin. I was one of the people that really got like bait and switched by the marketing, you know, as
Oh
like
yeah.
most people did. Um and I wasn't really happy with that just because I have read comics in the past with the Mandarin and Iron Man. I always thought that the some of the problems with the MCU movies, especially Iron Man's, is that he always kind of ends up fighting another Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool to see how he would have done in the circumstances with alien technology. But I also
Yeah.
understand why they didn't do that because of how similar it would have been to Thanos. I mean, that's why they changed the rings to be like bangles and not, you know,
Yeah.
actual finger rings in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Um, so it just is what it is. But
It is what it is, and it just again, it's you know, I've read so many articles lately about people who have been asked to direct Marvel movies and have turned it down.
mhm,
And even the same thing with like Star Wars, and it's because like the
the fan
toxic
base.
backlash of the fan base is
Yeah.
so horrid that people don't even want to touch it. And I think that that's a bad thing
Oh
to
yeah.
have to say about the fan base in general,
Yeah.
because no, you're not going to be pleased. I mean, let's take it back down to the what we do talk about, which is comics. But it's just we've talked on it on an episode before about just when a series will dip, even just like a run of an arc will dip,
Mhm.
and it's just like, you know, you can't just give up on it. Like sometimes you can because you can tell it's going like a bad place,
Right.
but there are just going to be like bad seasons that like fans aren't going to like, but you don't see like comic book fans going and like destroying the creators
Yeah, on
of the
like
comic because they
that's
didn't like it. Like,
again, like staying in the comic world, like one thing that I do really appreciate about the comic book fandom online, like on Instagram, which we're kind of active in, and like even on Twitter, which we're not really active in, and I mostly just sit on the sidelines and watch it, but it's very rarely negative, which is hard to come by in fandoms nowadays.
yeah,
um I was saying this at my shop today, that when a comic is bad, it's usually not like thrown under the bus and like run through, like it's usually not given scrutiny online. It's usually just not talked about, and that's usually
yeah,
the worst criticism I think that you could have as a comic book creator, is that people just aren't talking about your comic.
yeah.
But speaking of comics, buddy, what you got some pools there for me? Oh, look at you
Oh
rubbing your hands.
yes, I got some pulls. So
I mean,
speaking,
I'm not
but I mean,
surprised about
since
that.
since we were talking about Marvel, and I typically always start off with it anyway, I'm just going to get into my Marvels. So this is
Do it.
a series that I've
Do
been
it.
collecting and kind of saving up for the arc to end, and I'm going to read through it. But Defenders Beyond, I believe this is number 4 came
I
out.
love that cover.
I really, really liked issue 1, and so I have yet to read 2 and 3, and now 4, and so I'm kind of waiting for the arc to end because I want to be able to read it
Yeah.
all the way through.
Right.
Um, and then Thor number 28 came out, which again has Venom in it. Venom
Right.
and Thor kind of, I guess, working together at the moment, but the cover doesn't really depict it that way. So we'll
Hmm.
see what's inside that one. And then I got a couple Star Wars as per usual. Got
Classic
Darth
Mark.
Vader number 20, 28, yeah, right here. And then this cover is actually, um, it's celebrating the Star Wars 45th of something. I can't remember what the 45th anniversary is off the top of my head, but there it's like a special cover. But I got 2 as
Nice.
usual. So,
Oh,
yeah. What happened?
oh, I just like that. I like that second cover that you held up.
Oh, you want to see it again?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. That's pretty dope. Look at, is that Palpatine with his force lightning fingers?
Heck yeah, it is.
That's pretty dope.
And then this one I wasn't expecting to get, but it's a trick or treat free comics for all for ages 13 plus, not all ages, for 13 plus. But
Oh my goodness.
it's a Dr. Afra like special like free issue.
Oh my goodness. I really like that cover
So
too.
so yeah,
Man, they're just,
I wasn't even expecting that. And my shop just threw it in my thing for me because
they know you.
they know me so well.
They're like, Mark's
This
gonna love
next,
this.
yeah. I don't know if you I don't know if you picked up this next one. I know the next one you did, but here's the 10,000 Black Feathers number 2.
I did not. I haven't even read issue number 1 yet, and
Yeah.
spoiler, I don't know if I'm gonna, but I've heard
You
good
know what?
things. But I might just need a break from Mr. Lemire for some time.
It might be that time to take a break and maybe just dig, if you want to dig back into his old stuff or just let it lie for a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I think I stated after the first issue came out, like didn't really care for it. But I'm wondering if I just like missed something about it. Like I wasn't paying attention in the way that I should have because the reviews I've read on issue 1, they're all like high praise and like it's awesome. I haven't really seen too many people dogging on it. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to go back and read issue 1 and then read issue 2. And then this next one, I'm sure you got because we both always get it. Silver Coin.
Yes, sir. See,
Yeah.
I got
Number
a, oh, hold
15.
on a second. Let me just pull it out because I got a different cover than you. Which I'm a little bummed about because I really liked that cover.
I really
Um,
like your cover,
oh
but
man, are we gonna
yeah.
have to trade again? Well, by
Yeah.
again I mean that one time we talked about it and never did it. What comic
Which
was that even?
that was
Uh,
10,000 Black Feathers number 1.
I mean, hell, you might just be. I might just send it to you and just be like, keep it. But
You can have it.
you-
I like this one. I like it's called Into the Fire. And it
yeah,
has a fireman on it, and he
and
has
this
something
is
crawling out of his back. And
all by Michael Welsh. Walsh.
oh, look at that!
Yeah, he's doing the story and the art. And but it doesn't look so I guess we were wrong about this because normally when it gets to the 5th in an arc, it is a
It's
continuing
usually, yeah,
story
a
of the
continuation of the Covenant.
The Covenant, yeah, and
Yeah,
this doesn't seem to be that. So
it
that's
doesn't seem
interesting.
to be that.
Maybe
We'll
he's
see.
waiting for like Halloween. I guess but it is Halloween month, so it's weird that
Yeah.
he didn't try to. I don't know. Who knows? Who?
Let me call Mr. Walsh real quick and just
Hey,
see what's going on. Hey, what's
what's
going
going
on
on?
here?
What are you doing? I'm confused. Well, you're gonna make us look like a fool on our podcast.
That it's raving with reviews. Our podcast, the people
Yeah,
are
I
just
thought you were gonna say the
flocking
silver coin. I'm
to
like,
it.
well, yeah, it is.
Next, I got from Dark Horse Masquerade #2. So this one actually was supposed to come out last week, and my shop didn't have it. And then another one that I didn't get that came out last week. I'm sure I'm not. I think you might be talking about it today. No, you are because it's in the title. I didn't get my issue of Chicken Devils yet. So,
Oh
um,
no. Well,
yeah,
maybe
but
we'll talk about it, but I won't. There's honestly nothing to spoil in the comic, really.
I mean, I'm still gonna read it regardless. So,
right, yeah,
next I got Dark Horse Parasomnia #3. This one's been growing on me. Issue 1 started off kind of slow to me, and I think I just wasn't fully gathering what was going on. And then issue 2 came, and I feel like I'm kind of on board with that one now. And then in a similar vein, I actually mentioned this to you before the show started, but issue #3 of Agent of World came out.
right,
And if anybody listening saw the episode or listened to the episode in which issue 1 came out, and then the following week I talked about it, and I was pretty harsh on it, which uh, isn't something I want to be doing anymore. But
yeah,
uh, I can't say like I didn't really care for issue 1, but then I stuck with it. I got issue 2. I really liked issue 2, and so I'm kind of looking forward to issue 3. And I may go back and actually read the first 2 before I read issue 3. So
that wouldn't be a bad idea.
yeah,
I realize I need to do that more. Um, I've just go like because there's a lot of times I dive into a story, and I'm definitely guilty of this with Chicken Devil, which we'll get to. But like being like, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. Like
yeah,
not really remembering everything. Um, but yeah, and mostly like I just want to go back because I do enjoy those issues. If I'm like on issue 3 of an arc, it's like, well, I'm only there because I enjoyed issue 1 and 2.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, just
Well,
to go back and like, because then you don't have to be as like focused. You can just kind of skim it and just enjoy the art. And I always feel like I don't do comic book artists justice when I just read it once. I feel
yeah.
like I need to like go back and actually like enjoy each picture and enjoy like the whole thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like you'll find things. Maybe you might find like a quote that you really like that really landed with you the first time, but maybe you hadn't jotted it down, but then you came back to it and you're like, oh, that's great. Or maybe there's just some detail in the art. Like I will never forget, like with 8 Billion Genies issue 1.
Hmm.
Uh, like we were talking about it, and I don't know if you were quite on board with it yet. I kind of, if I remember correctly, like you liked issue 1, but you were just like, I don't know, we'll see how issue 2 goes
Yeah,
and move on with it. But I pointed out to you something about like the genie's hand was like coming out of the panel,
right.
like kind of like the genies aren't confined to like the comic book, and like that was just like a detail in the art that I didn't catch the first time. I caught it on my second read of it, and it
Yeah,
was just something else to appreciate about something that I did enjoy.
and
So
honestly, like I think that that's so good for comics to because you want the art to be telling the story as well. And that
yeah.
was do you have more pools or
Yeah, I got two more. I got
okay.
two more.
But yeah, well yeah, then keep going. I can bring back into what I was talking about
Yeah, we
later.
can just loop back around. It'll come
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah, like a
And we were
circle.
talking issue threes and just like, oh, why did I read issue 3? Because I got issues 1 and 2, and I'm actually excited about this because it's Sacrament #3 from
Nice.
AWA. I really enjoy this whole premise. I will talk about it more another day when the first arc ends. I'll probably end up talking about it. And then I got a one shot here from Source Point Press called Hyper Aware.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Um,
Source Point does pretty good stuff. We don't really talk about them much.
I
But
don't
yeah,
I
I've
don't get
gotten
a whole lot from them, but the stuff that I do have from them, I like it.
I feel
So
like I read an arc from them, but I can't remember what it was. But
yeah, you do have something that's actually kind of like it's got some tread, you know.
right.
But yeah, so this Hyper Aware, it's written by Jonathan Hedrick, and the artist is Deborah Lanciani's. I'm not sure if
Okay.
I'm saying her last name correct, but
You're
yeah.
doing
So
it.
it's about three astronauts that are like stranded in space,
That's probably not
and
good.
yeah, and it's kind of like from what I understand, it's like a love triangle.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Anthony. Um,
Anthony just called us a stud, but I just want you to know that you are the studdiest of them all. And just a quick plug for him. If you aren't following Anthony on YouTube or anywhere else, you want to follow him. He does a lot of independent wrestling stuff and beer reviews and even streaming of video games. He's a great dude who, is essentially the greatest. So,
and if you want to get to know him and his comic book history, you can go back to episode 20
heck yeah.
and listen to that. He was a guest, and he's a very generous person. He lets us
He's,
use his little platform here to do our podcast. So thank you, Anthony.
yeah, you're a pal. You're a pool box
He's
pal.
he's the first third pal.
First, third pal. That was a good sentence that you just pulled out of there real quick.
I string some good stuff together every once in a while.
I know you do.
But yeah, so this is just about three people on a spaceship drifting out in space, kind of like Tony Stark and oh my goodness,
Nebula.
Nebula. Thank
Wow,
you.
I was very proud of myself for
Yeah.
that one, being able to pull that out of my ass. Good job, me.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading
Awesome.
that. I got quite the list this week. So
Well, I'd be upset if you didn't, buddy. But yeah, so is it my turn then?
yeah, man, what'd you get?
My goodness. This actually was a great week for me. I was very happy with my pulls. And yeah, so I guess I'll just stop saying that and just show you what I got. Um, I wasn't too happy with this cover, and honestly, this is okay. So this is public domain issue number 5, and I hate to
Okay.
say this, but this entire like arc, the covers have been like very underwhelming, which honestly is like my least favorite part of this series. But yeah, it's a great series. It seems like it's going to be coming to a climax soon, so I'm very excited about that. Another comic that I'm super excited about. I'm pretty much excited about like everything I got this week. There's none that I'm like
Oh yeah,
apprehensive
Above
about.
Snakes came out.
Above Snakes number 4. I've been loving this. This is another one of those comics that I definitely need to go back and reread.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first couple issues, they were like a lot happened, but it was very enjoyable, very good. My boy Hayden Sherman, he's not on Instagram, and I'm so bummed about that. But I can understand why you'd want to stay off the internet. Can be a toxic place, but can be, right?
as we just recently spoke about, but
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a little bit out of order here, but I got 2 comics that actually came out like a couple weeks ago, but I had my shop order them for me, so I'm just getting them now. Actually, that was just this one, that Texas Blood number 18. I actually think this might be the end of this arc. I'm not 100%
okay.
sure about that. I could look at the end and like be like, does it say to be concluded? Which is, it looks like it's gonna keep going. The ending looked like there might be more to it, but that Texas Blood, I've been loving that since the get go. And speaking of Pullbox Pals swinging by, our good buddy Andy Header is here. Hi,
Hello,
friend.
Andy.
Saw him at the shop today. He had a stack that would rival yours. I would love to see you guys compete every week. Actually, our comic book shop owner was telling us that there used to be a guy who would come in and every week he would drop minimum of $80 on his pulls.
Man,
Yeah. So good. My hats off to that guy wherever you are,
that's
because
like on average twice as many as what I get every
yeah, I
week.
usually get around like $20 to $30 a comic. So I couldn't imagine what that stack looks like. But hey, man, like he said, the guy said that it was his like only real hobby. And so that's great. Go for it.
Yeah, do it.
Live the dream.
I
And
would probably buy $80 worth of comics every week if I could.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Especially like when it comes to like really good covers and whatnot. Yeah. So, and it was $80 on just Marvel books. So it wasn't like DC or anything, but pretty much I would imagine
Oh
like
wow.
anything that new came out from Marvel, the guy was buying. But
Wow.
yeah. So that's impressive. Good job to that guy. I hope he's
Yeah.
enjoying She-Hulk. But so this is a comic that was highly recommended and is a couple weeks old now, either like 1 or 2
Yeah.
weeks. But the Saturday Morning Adventures, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm super stoked to get into this just because it's something that is new.
This
And
and
yeah.
this is something Andy talked about last week.
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, he at the shop he was telling me how good it was, and yeah,
I looked on the shelves at my shop today and they did not have any copies. So I'm debating if I need to ask them to order it.
yeah. I mean, it's apparently a six. I mean, we talked about this last week being a 6-issue thing, but like each story kind of being its own contained story. So I'm very excited
Yeah.
about that because I just don't need everything to be an overarching arc. Um,
Well, and I
but
mean, like the cartoon that it's based on. I mean, that's how every episode was. It was again like you might every once in a while get like the turtles fight Shredder, and then to be continued. The
right, yeah.
turtles fight Shredder Part 2, and like that was really all those shows ever went to as a Part 2. There was rarely ever like a 3 and 4. Hey, kitty cat.
Do you see the shadow just lurching in the
Yeah.
darkness? But yeah, so got that very excited. I feel like I need to. This is a number one, and normally I save my number ones for the end, but this came out this week. I feel like it's in the same vein. This is Sonic the
Okay.
Hedgehog, Scrapnik Island. It seems like
Okay.
it's a little bit of a spooky story, probably for the spooky time of the year.
Oh yeah,
But this is
we
just
love the spooky time.
this is Daniel Barnes is writing the story. We have Jack Lawrence on the art and Natalie Foundrian on the colors, and the letters is Sean Lee. And I just like Sonic as a character. Maybe not a video game character, but as a character in general, he's pretty dope.
Did you see
So
the movies?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved both of them. I thought they were
Yeah.
fantastic. I really wanted to see number 2 in theaters, but my girlfriend didn't, so we waited until it came out on like home video or whatever it was on streaming. And
Yeah.
we rented it and she fell asleep in the middle of it. So I was just like, I could have gone to the theater if you were just gonna fall asleep.
Yeah. Right.
But it is what it is. I love her the same. So do you remember
Glad you guys moved on from that.
yeah,
That's
it
good.
was a
Yeah.
real rough spot in our relationship that the Sonic the number 2 Sonic the Hedgehog the second movie. Uh so a couple of weeks ago I picked up this comic as
Yeah.
the Barbed,
Which was
and
all like funky, right?
it was all funky. Like the back half of the issue didn't have any words, and you know what? If you look in this comic, it does.
There's
So this is
words.
it has words. So this is from our buddies over at Scout Comics. Yeah, and as promised, they said that when issue 2 came out, that they would reissue number 1 with the words in it. And we all make mistakes, so like I have that comic now. I'll sell it one day for $1 million, and we'll be good to go.
Which speaking of that issue, I mean
Mm,
the problem
mhm.
that you had to get a new copy of it.
Yeah, not just
Um,
the issue, as in like the issue of like I
I s-
issued a comic.
yeah, I need to get back on top of my issue with Image, because that happened to a comic that came out for me the following week.
Really,
Yeah, remember
I
I think I
vaguely
mentioned it.
remember
Well,
this.
it was Old Dog number 1.
That's right.
And I don't know if it was like a mass problem that happened like yours was, but like
Hmm.
my issue that I have doesn't seem quite right. And
Interesting.
there's speech bubbles with nothing in them, and then there's other panels that have words but no like speech or thought or boxes around them, and that just a lot of stuff seemed really out of place. So
Huh?
I need
You're
to.
gonna maybe like go back to your shop, pick up like a different issue of it, and like thumb through it and see if it's the same problem,
Yeah,
or
I don't know if my comic shop would have another issue of it, because if I was the only person who ordered it, they were, I think,
oh, that's right.
required to maybe order one more, and then I'm sure that somebody already took it. But a lot of times, the comic book like manager at our shop, she
Hmm.
gets a lot of the same stuff that I will get, and so the 2 copies she orders are just like what her
Like
and I get.
yeah,
So
that's cool. Um, but yeah, so that's all I got. I got issue number 2. I don't know if I made that clear, but yeah, that came out. I really enjoyed the art. I thought the story was cool. Yeah, so I'm excited to
yeah,
dive into issue number 2 and see where it goes.
all right,
But
party on, man.
potty on part,
Wait, so that Wait, so that's issue 1 or that's issue 2?
No, so I got issue number 1. So what they did was when they sent out issue number 2, which is this guy right
Okay,
here,
okay, yeah.
they resent out issue number 1, and
I
my
really like
comic
those
shop,
covers.
yeah, they're great. And like I said, the art is great, the story's good. I don't know if this is just how it was. My shop was generous enough that I didn't have to pay for this. The number 1 again. So they just gave it to me. That probably just like Scout Comics. I probably would have said like, just give it to them for free if they paid for it because they want to make amends. I would
Yeah.
imagine is the case. But yeah, that's all I got this week. I thought for a second that I might have got a digital comic, but I didn't. I got very excited, and yeah, that didn't happen. But
Yeah.
you got a comic you want to talk about, bud?
I sure do. So yeah, I think I said this to you before we started the episode, but the best stuff I read this week is actually what I got last week, which I only got Marvel and DC stuff, and I had
Well, there you
5.
go.
I read 4 of the 5, and 3 of them are here on my shelf.
Nice. Look at
So I
that.
guess which one do you want me to talk about? Do you want me to talk about Star Wars Visions or the New High Republic? Those are the
Ooh.
2 that I'm going to be talking about.
Let's do Visions first.
Okay. Visions was pretty much everything I had hoped and anticipated it to be. Because, okay, so if you saw the show that Disney Plus had put out, was that back
A while
last
ago.
winter? I think it was
Yeah,
last winter it came out.
my goodness.
And we're approaching next winter. So, anyways, there was an episode called The Duel.
You're gonna get you're making Andy happy here. He says, "I'm curious to hear about Visions too. It looks great.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Can you sell it to Mr. Header?"
I'll do my best. I will do
I
my
believe in you.
best. Obviously the best thing about this is just its artistic approach. I'll put it at that. The art in this is phenomenal. Because like the show is based on the old man the old
Canon?
Japanese filmmaker that the first Star Wars movie was kind of based on.
Right. I can't remember the name of it.
Like
But
in
yeah, I
English,
know.
it would start with an A. Like that's all I can picture in my head is that there's an A.
Wasn't the word samurai in it somewhere?
Well, I'm
I
talking
can't
about like
remember.
the
Maybe Andy
director.
knows.
Yeah, and Andy would probably know. But yeah, so the show really like adopted that kind of like film style into its art. And so the art in this is just how the cover is. It's really clean. I don't know if I've seen cleaner art. I'm gonna go to my favorite page.
Alrighty.
Just
This
to
is very
show.
exciting.
Where
I
was it?
would love to. I need to get on this. I completely forgot about this because I remember last time when we
There
were
it
talking
was.
about this, it seemed like something that I would get sucked into.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my favorite page. Not this side, but here with all the lightsabers.
Yeah.
So this is all the other Sith that the Ronin has killed.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
in it, he's talking about just kind of like all the pain that he has on his body, and he's like, I need that pain to remember all the pain that I caused and like what I've been through.
Oof.
But yeah, so just the art alone is just impeccable. Like just flipping through it, it's just so nice. Like I don't know, it's like smooth like butter, I guess, in a way. But then overall too, just the story is really really great, and it plays into how like most like manga and anime shows go, in that like it starts off really like light, and then just all of a sudden there's a flip of the switch and it just goes like super intense. And was that your cat?
Yeah, I was gonna say you said super intense, and my cat just lost his shit.
Yeah. Well, calm down, kitty.
Well, hey, we just real quick, we have
Oh yeah.
a new friend named Moon Knight K. He says, "Hello, guys. I have a question for you. Shoot, my friend. We would
Yeah, what's the
love
question?
to answer your question." But yeah, if you can continue what you were
Yeah.
saying. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just wanted to pull
Um
that on up.
So, but this story takes place before the duel, the show that we saw. Um, I think it's actually like it might be like right before the episode of the show starts. Man, your cat is
Yeah, I'm
causing
sorry about
quite the
that.
ruckus.
Yeah, it's chasing what I believe to be a broken Lego. So,
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was like something filled with catnip.
nope. I think it might be an armor, an Iron Man armor that fell off a shelf and broke. But anyways,
Um,
I'm sorry about that.
oh, no worries. But yeah, so like this story kind of follows the Ronin, obviously, and he meets like a fellow traveler who's also had like war experience, but he's like blind. But he also like remains very mysterious like throughout the issue until like the very end. And that's where like this like climax happens. It's like super, super intense. And then like after that moment happens, it's like kind of like a force vision type of battle. It's
Ooh,
that was just really really well done. So um okay, I
nope.
see Moon Knight K's question.
Let's
um what do you think about Sasha Baron Cohen will play Mephisto in the Ironheart series?
Oh,
um I'm just gonna leave it alone at that. If you're gonna have somebody play the MC, or sorry, the Marvel version of the Devil named Mephisto, I think the best current actor out there to play that is Sasha Baron Cohen.
yeah, I would be, especially the Mephisto that's in the Doctor Strange Damnation arc. I don't know if you ever read
Mm,
that, but he's like kind of like a businessman. Andy says that he saw that too. He might be good. He has a huge range, and that's
he
very
does.
true.
He's
Um,
funny. He can be in dramas. Like
I
it's a
definitely have
win-win.
like WandaVision PTSD when it comes to rumors around Mephisto because it's just when that television show was out, it felt like just every week it was like Mephisto's gonna show up and like this is an Easter egg for Mephisto, and then it just never happened. Um,
Yeah.
so there is, yeah, I definitely have like PTSD of just being like, oh my god, is like, are they actually gonna like do anything with this character, or are they just gonna
This
keep
is going to be
teasing him?
another one of those Kevin Feige, like, haha, gotcha.
But also, like, there's a part of me that's like, why would Mephisto be in the Ironheart series? You know, like that's a weird connection. And I
And I'm not gonna go out on the limb and like be like I'm a huge Mephisto fan and have seen everything he's in, but I just know he has a presence in the lives of what we know of being the Avengers,
mhm.
and I've read few issues with him in it, and I think he's a great character. So you're regardless if he shows up in Ironheart or they save him for something else, um, I'll be
Yeah,
excited to see that character show up.
I would definitely would like to see him. One of I forget. There's I think it's a Doctor Strange comic, and they're like making a potion or something. And one of the things that they need is Mephisto's tear, and I think that that's really interesting. The fact that like
Yeah,
if you've read that character, he definitely doesn't seem like something that would cry. And so
yeah.
I was always curious of being like, huh, how do you get Mephisto to cry? But again, if you have like a great
You
actor like
step on
Sasha,
his toe really hard.
just with the
Just
heel of your foot,
just it right on it, right on his, like, not even his big toe, but like, the
one of
two
the,
inside, like the middle and then the
yeah,
one
the
in
middle
between.
weak vulnerable
Yeah,
ones.
step right on those as hard as you can with your heel. You'll get a Mephisto tear,
There you go. That's
guaranteed.
how that works. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I was just saying earlier that I don't always just want to see an Iron Man type character fighting more Iron Man. So, like, if
Yeah,
it is Ironheart versus Mephisto, if they can make that story good, I think that could be cool. Like
yeah,
the devil getting hit with like repulsor rays. Why not?
yeah,
The comic books are supposed to be weird and wacky, so I'm down for it 100%.
yeah.
But anything else you want to say about Star Wars Visions before
Uh,
we?
there's one negative aspect about it that I did
Oh
not
no,
realize when I got it, and I'm really bummed about it. But it is
mm,
a one shot.
really?
It doesn't say it on there. But apparently, as far as I've read, there's no further plans to have
Does it
another issue like
does it feel
for it
like
to
it
come out.
ends like very just like
Well,
done?
yeah, then that's why I said like I really do think that this issue ends, and then sorry, I'm like holding on the wrong side.
You're
This
good.
issue ends, and I think that the episode, the duel of the show, like picks up.
Oh, okay.
So that's from my understanding, but just for a single story by itself and just for the art, like I think it's worth at least worth just being in your collection.
Right.
So
It's cool,
yeah.
man. If it's a one shot, then I'm 100% picking it up. So next week when I do my pulls, if it's not there, I want you to call me a big fat liar. Okay?
Okay.
Remember that. But
I'll
so
try.
you will. I believe in you. You want to talk about Chicken Devils a little bit? I know you said obviously you
Yeah.
didn't get it, but I mean, I won't, like I said, I won't spoil anything, but so the original team of so okay, just for those of you who don't know, Chicken Devils that see down there, there's a little added S, is the second volume of Chicken Devil. In the first volume, we follow this character here named Mitch, who owns a chicken restaurant. Not like he doesn't serve two chickens, he serves chickens, as in the poultry. And
Yes.
he learns that his business partner is using it as a front to sell heroin, and he's in deep with a bunch of local gangs, and they come for him. And again, Mitch doesn't know about this. Mitch thinks that they kill his family, so he goes on an all-out rampage against these gangs. And for those of you who've read it, you know he just does a terrible job of being good at what he's trying to do. He kind of falls ass backwards into it and kills a bunch of people accidentally and does a lot of big things, but kind of unintentionally.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, he's joined by two cops who kind of were following him the whole time and just cleaning up his messes a little bit and covering his trail. Those are the two cops on the either side of him. I forget their names at the moment, but
Yeah. I I'm excited to get my issue because I really loved that first run. Like
mhm.
when the first issue happened, I was like, oh, this is just like a comedic play on the Los Pollos
Right,
Hermanos
yeah, on
from Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad.
I was just like, okay, so like they're just like taking a different take on that, which in a way they are. They lifted an idea,
Yeah, there's
but
nothing wrong with that.
what the result of it was just absolutely amazing. Like
Mhm.
I'm fully on board, and I'm very upset I don't have my issue yet, but I may
Yeah.
not get it till issue 2 comes out.
Oh
So
no. But yeah, I this is like I was saying earlier, this is 100% a comic that I wish I would have read the first arc before diving back into this.
yeah,
Um Simply just because there was a lot of like references to things that happened in the first volume that I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that happened. Oh yeah, I forgot that such and such did such and such a thing."
yeah,
So, and honestly, it's such a good comic, Chicken Devil. It's 100% worth going back and picking up. I was looking at the trade paperback to pick that up, and it was $17. So I'm
I
like,
wonder if it's available on Comixology yet.
that's a good question. I could look that up. I have it on my phone. I really wouldn't be surprised if it if it was. I would imagine it's there is what I'm trying to say. But the one thing that I'm a little bit bummed about, even though it's not really anything to be like upset over, is that uh, in the initial run of it in Chicken Devils, the art was done by Hayden Sherman, who is
Yeah,
again
yeah, yeah.
he's one of my favorite. This switches over to Mattia Montenko. Just down there it says it, but the rest of the
I'm
team is the same. That is
I'm fairly certain I have something from Mattia. Let me
okay.
go. You keep
Um,
talking.
Sure, but it's by Brian Bucchiato and Hazen Atmain Alou.
Yeah,
And
that's my
uh,
favorite letter.
yeah,
I will always say it.
he does a fantastic job. And honestly, the art isn't too far off. And I'm gonna, like I said, I love Hayden Sherman. He's like legitimately one of my favorite artists right now. And this is a little less hectic of art than it was. I think. I mean, but it still does a good job of like portraying emotion and stuff. But Hayden Sherman definitely went like all out when it came to the art in Chicken Devil's Volume One or Chicken Devil.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was very like just intense and like raw and gritty. And this is a little bit more dialed back, which I'm not opposed to at all.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something that's kind of um I don't easily digestible, because Chicken Devil just seemed like it was like nonstop adrenaline. Uh,
Oh yeah.
and in all honesty, this kind of picks up at a little bit of a slower pace, which I'm not complaining about because the whole element and
But
like the whole
That's kind
spirit
of
of
how
it
I
still
remember the
remains.
issue 1 of Chicken Devil starting out, was like it was pretty slow. Like, I mean, it kind of, I feel like at least the first few pages were kind of slow, and then it jumps right in. But
Sure. But yeah, I
so
mean,
I'm not too surprised, I
no,
guess.
I imagine that chaos is going to ensue. Like I don't, and like stuff happens in this issue, but it's more about the narrative and the consequences of the first arc a little bit, and kind of just bringing you up to speed on like the minor interloop in between those things, if that makes sense.
I'm also now curious, like, they keep going with the Chicken Devil and now Chicken Devils, what's the third arc going to be called? Is it going to be like more Chicken Devils?
More chicken. Why not?
Fried Chicken Devils?
The Chicken Devils. I don't know.
Yeah, just add
That's
that.
what they do when they're just like, well,
Yeah.
we've done enough Batman, so this is
Let's
the
just call it
Batman.
the Batman now. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that one, man. Do you got any comics that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so the other one I mentioned already is Star Wars High Republic #1. And last week I didn't really know a whole lot about it going into it. I don't really read into I don't read about the Star Wars comics that are coming out. I just know they're coming out. I add them to my polls and then I read them as they come. So
Mm,
I didn't really know a whole lot of going into it. Um, but this is phase 2 now of the High Republic, and
okay.
I haven't picked up the novels yet for phase 2, which I probably should. Um, but anyways, this is kind of doing what House of the Dragons does to Game of Thrones. We're going back like 150 years before phase 1 of High Republic,
Okay.
and in this, so from what I
Interesting. So
understand,
they're
yeah,
going even farther back into
they're going
time.
even further back. And so I don't
Interesting.
know about how the novels are doing it, because where phase 1 ended with like the novels and the comics, it seemed like we were going to be getting more from these characters.
Hmm.
So yeah, I haven't looked into this phase 2 yet so much, but we're 150 years in the past, and we have this Jedi named here we go. Oh shoot.
His name is.
His name is Vildar Mac. Okay,
That sounds like a Star Wars name.
he's like a middle-aged Jedi. He doesn't have a Padawan, and he decided he wanted to take this mission to Jedha, which, Jedha is a big plot point for Rogue One.
Hmm.
So we're getting some of that history, and the Jedi aren't very well liked here, because it is a planet that worships the Force.
Hmm.
And so there's all these different groups of Force users in this issue that aren't just Jedi and they're not just Sith. I think one of them calls themselves the Union,
Okay.
and that's what they refer to the Force as, is the Union, rather than calling it the
The
Force.
Force. Interesting.
Um,
That's
yeah,
cool.
and so it was exciting because it's new characters that I've never heard of before. I don't think any of these characters have been mentioned in other Star Wars material, um, and kind of just the story unfolds where Mac shows up on the planet. He's greeted by another Jedi's Padawan, and then him and this Padawan stop to watch this like street show of some performance, and then this like argument over the Force ensues, and the Jedi try to step in, and then
Oh
some
man.
thievery happens and a chase down, and then there's like this big council meeting between different Force users that goes awry. It was a very exciting first issue, so I'm looking
Sounds
forward
it.
to like continuing this, because I really liked phase 1 of the High Republic.
Yeah.
um and so, and I think it's the same team that's behind it. Kevin Scott wrote this one, as far I think. Let me check. Yeah, Kevin Scott wrote this, and he's been killing Star Wars.
I
So
like how you just turned around like that. That was very enjoyable
I
for the viewers.
also, the funny part is that I also had it right in front of me in my notes, so I didn't need to turn around. But
Yeah, but isn't it
um,
nice to look at the real thing?
it is. It's very nice.
One of my favorite comic book visits to Jeddah, however you say it. I always called it Jeddah. Um,
I say Jedha, but that I might be putting a little too much emphasis on the H.
it's Star Wars. I'm sure from your side of the galaxy, that's
What
how they
would
say
George
it.
Lucas say?
He would roll over in his grave.
No,
He's
he
not
would
dead
not.
yet.
He's quoted saying,
Jeddah.
because No, because the original cast, so Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford,
Mm-hmm.
they were all like, "How do you say some of these things?" And like the best like thing that I can bring up is like the way Lando says Han instead of Han.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas's response was, words are said differently in different parts of the galaxy.
Yeah. Why
And
wouldn't it be?
that is very, very true. And I think we've talked about this before because you live at the northern part of the Appalachian Mountains, and
I do.
our a good buddy from our past, Luke, and our other friend Zach, they're from the southern part of Appalachia. So
That's right. They're
um,
from the Appalachia, and I'm from the Appalachian.
Appalachian,
Yeah.
Appalachian,
It's very interesting how that works.
Appalachian. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't.
Now I'm all confused
I'm
about it.
confused about it too. But there's Appalachia and
Apples. Maybe I might
apples.
be make apples to apples. Remember that game?
I don't
But
know. I'm from the West, so I don't
yeah, you
speak
don't
your
talk about
East.
these
I
mountains.
don't talk East Coast lingo. So
But yeah, going back to the whole reason we went down this tangent, one of my favorite visits to that planet is in one of the Star Wars comics of the run in between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Is they go to the planet after Rogue One, where the
oh
planet
yeah,
has been kind of destroyed by
yeah,
part of it has been destroyed by the Death Star. And there's a cult there that worships kind of the void that was left as like the thing that is going to cleanse the entire planet.
yeah,
Because it will ultimately be the planet's destruction of just having, half of it, a quarter of the planet blown off. And they essentially just are like a doomsday cult. And I think it's one of the like, I don't know, darkest and like grittiest things that Star Wars does in that run of just like having this weird like death cult, you know?
yeah. Well,
So,
and like the other thing too that I really like about the High Republic is that I know that it is all build up to the TV series that's coming out, The Acolyte,
mm,
because
hmm
it's like The Acolyte's supposed to pick up during the transition between like the High Republic ending and then whatever's after it.
right.
And
I'm
I
very excited for that series. I feel
so
like that's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that
So yeah, so I'm still digging Star Wars comics.
classic.
Probably won't stop, but
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about a comic that isn't stopping. So a long time back, this is probably on like one of our first issues, first episodes. We would have talked about this, but there's this comicsology comic from our good buddy Chip Zdarsky called The All Nighter.
Ooh.
Um, and it is about this is up your alley, buddy. I'm
Okay.
surprised you haven't jumped on this, but
I'm doing it right now.
it's about a group of vampires who decide to
Oh,
start being superheroes. They can only go out at night, and they have superpowers because they are infested with them.
yeah.
Uh, and every time I jump on Comixology, I feel like I see a new issue out. And, I thought it might just be like a one issue arc, but they're on like either issue number 9 or 10. And so I figured like it was such a cool premise. I jumped off at issue 2, unfortunately. So this
And
week,
sorry, what's it called again?
The All Nighter. I have it in our podcast title as The All Nighters, so I need to change that. But
Oh, I
I
see
added
it.
an S, but it doesn't need a S. But yeah, it's from Chip Zdarsky. Let me see if I can pull up real quick who does the art. Is Jason Liu. Um, yeah, and so what's interesting about this is that there aren't just vampires in this world. There's trolls, there's Frankensteins, and there's other sorts of uh, mythological creatures. And
Okay.
because they see how it kind of works is in this world, all of these creatures are kind of like banned and hidden to like the fringes of society. They're not allowed. Yeah, that's it. Um, they're not allowed to reveal themselves to the world, but the people, the vampires who become, I think it's Night Shock and Night Kick are the name of like the two initial superheroes that come out.
Okay.
Um, they kind of become like, do you remember how in Civil War when they're talking about the Sokovia Accords and Civil War, the movie that is,
Yeah.
and Vision says something about Iron Man's present, or even the presence of the Avengers invites competition or invites, people to do the same
Right.
thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
maybe in a negative way. So this is the same concept here. Is there's like the first thing we see is trolls. They see these vampires come out at night and use their powers for good, but they get misunderstood. They don't understand what the vampires are doing, so they think that the trolls think that the vampires are using their powers to take over humanity. So that's what they start doing. They start trying to like burn a bridge or something like that, and then the vampires stop them. But in the process, a lot of mythological creatures see that we're starting to come out of the shadows and we're starting to reveal ourselves. um, and yeah, so it's just a super interesting concept, and they're using a lot of just like random, creatures from American mythology. And yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's Chip Zdarsky, so it's really good. The art
Awesome.
is fantastic.
No, no, I just queued it up.
Yeah, and like I said, it's there's probably onto the third arc by now, or at least like
I
pretty deep
saw
into the second one.
when I just looked it up, there was issue 10 was the first thing that came up for me. So I'm
Okay, yeah.
wondering if that's the last issue that came out. But
Yeah, it would
um,
probably be somewhere around there, and it's like I said, it's a Comixology exclusive, but it was one of those things, like, it's so far into its run that I'm surprised I don't see more people talking about it, especially because it is Chip Zdarsky,
yeah,
and he just does such a good job with that. But, yeah, um yeah, I love having a comic that I can just kinda pull up and just kinda breeze through, and this is definitely what that is gonna be for me. Is just, like, when I'm bored at, like, work or, like, at home, I can just quickly, like, pull it up and read an issue or, like,
yeah,
whatever, because I am a big fan of reading digital comics, just because they seem to flow a lot easier than, physical comics sometimes. But
yeah.
I read the 2 of them at work today in, like, 15 minutes, and I'm like, "Oh, heck yeah, this is a great
Oh
story."
yeah.
Got to consume it really quick, and, like, yeah, it was very interesting.
Well, in that vein, one of my end of the show shout outs that I have is on Comixology right now. It's not a
Okay.
Comixology exclusive, but Instagram friends over at the Comic Book Lair, one of their hosts had posted about this, and I had asked if they were enjoying
Mm,
it because I've been thinking about checking it out myself. I did not know that it was on Comixology at the time, but yeah, it's Something is Killing the Children.
right, yeah.
I read through the first arc over Monday and Tuesday. So
Mhm.
I finished the first arc last night, and I'm now on I think issue 7.
Okay.
I read issue number 6 as well. Um, it's worth the read. It's very
Mm,
exciting. I didn't really know much about it other than like I thought the title was really really cool.
mhm.
But I hadn't really looked too much into it. It's written by James Tinian the Fourth.
Oh,
The art is by Werther Deladera. I think I'm
okay.
saying that right.
Sure.
Um, and
I mean, this comic seems to be, like, very popular.
yeah,
I see
so
a lot of,
it's
like, hardback, trade paperbacks and, like, that kinda stuff, so
yeah,
I've this and Gideon Falls I need to get into. Those are 2 kinda comics that sit in my head as, like, things I need to read.
yeah, and book 2 of Gideon Falls I think comes out next week. So I'm excited about that because I've only read the first book, which I think is the first 16 issues of it, and then the second book's the last half of it, and so that comes out next week. So I'm excited about that coming out. That should be available on Comixology as well, probably for purchase, but that's how I'm going to go for it because again, the aspect as you mentioned of like having digital comics is you can sit down and read them whenever you want and you can breeze through them for as long as you have to like sit there on your phone, whereas like I don't know many people who sit down with their physical comic book and bookmark it and say I'll pick up
Mm,
here later. Like I do
mhm.
that from time to time,
Yeah.
but like it's probably like I had to help do something with the kids or like take out the trash real quick or help with making dinner, whatever it is, like and I'll go back and pick it up. But like
Yeah.
with digital comics, you can set it down for an entire day, a week, even if you wanted to, and just pick up where you left off. It makes it really easy to live by the Stephen King method of just read when you
Read whenever
can,
you can.
keep your book with you. Um,
Nice.
and then
Well, Do you want to just do shout outs since we're there? I mean, you
Yeah.
already did Something is Killing the Children, Volume 1, right?
Yeah, volume one. So yeah, and kind of the premise behind it is only children can see. So that it's basically there's monsters that exist. Only children can see them, and the only adults that can see them as well have had this like certain kind of gold like
Mm,
that has touched them, and then they're able to see it.
interesting.
And it follows this gal named Erica, and she is a hunter for what is called the House of Slaughter. I don't think it's connected to the comic book House of Slaughter, but
Right.
um, it might be. But I haven't looked into that.
Sure.
But yeah, so she like works for the House of Slaughter, which is like this division that seems to have power over all governments and intervenes in a lot of stuff that we just wouldn't see on the day to day. And so yeah, the volume one is very exciting. I'm very excited with volume two so far as well. It just kind of provides some backstory to volume one so far as well, and like it's just getting into more of the nitty gritty of like battling these monsters. So
That's pretty dope.
yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, I got that and Gideon Falls I need to check out. And again, like I just need to do it on my Comixology and just, just breeze through them.
Yeah.
That's
It's
100%
worth
the
it.
way I want to go. But yeah, a comic that I want to shout out. You know what? Since we're talking, I was going to show you a physical comic, but instead, since we're talking digital comics, I read Census #2
Oh
today
yeah.
at work. I can't remember who that's by off the top of my head, but it's the idea of doing a census through of
Isn't it
mythological.
Scott?
No, it's not. It's one
It's
of
not?
the.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually not because not everything on Comixology is done by him. Surprisingly enough,
Only
because
90% of it.
only that's what it genuinely feels like. But yeah, let's see if I can find. So it's by Mark Bernardin and Adam Freeman and others. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, so the premise is a guy has to go around and do a census of all the mythological creatures in New York City, and how hard that is. He was doing leprechauns in this issue, and
Oh,
it was
nice.
something that's. I'll just say this really quick. This was really funny. There was a so there's he's at a bar trying to get the thumbprint and like the signature from all of these leprechauns, and there's a guy, like just a normal human, sitting at the bar, and he's like hey man, like those leprechauns you're seeing, they're not real. And so the guy's like, what do you mean they're not real? And he's like, yeah, my wife tells me all the time that they're not real and they're just a figment of my imagination. And he's like, and the guy's like, no dude, they're like right here, one of them just peed on my leg, I think they're real. And the guy's like, well damn it. Like what do you so I thought that was just, yeah, the humor in it is really funny. It's very dry.
I love
Yeah.
when a comic makes you laugh out loud.
Yeah, and
It's the best.
sometimes comedy in comics is very hard to translate because you're reading it and you have a hard time
Yeah.
like hearing the cadences of it. And again, that's kind of where the art might come in. But yeah, this comic is definitely like a funny comic, and I'm very happy to be reading it. And I genuinely look forward to it. I check Comixology every Wednesday, and like every randomly, not just on Wednesdays, but like just to see what's out. And that's one that I definitely look forward to seeing while it's there. But
Right
you
on.
got any another shout out you want to do real quick?
Yeah, the last one I got is right here behind me. Sorry, here with this hand. Dead Lucky. So Dead Lucky is a part of this massive verse that Image is doing, which is kind of like this new set of superheroes. I think the main
Right.
one takes place in Chicago, and Dead Lucky takes place in San Francisco.
Gotcha.
And it's just really exciting. I mean, it's kind of in a way it's kind of like a detective story, but she's not really a detective. She's like ex-military, and
Mm.
she like lives with her ghosts, and her background is like uh I don't know specifically where in Asia, but like her dad is Asian and her mom is Hispanic. And
Hmm.
so she like has those two cultures in her, and so she has the like the sugar skull tattoo on her, but that's also kind of like what she masquerades as. Is I think you can even see it on no, not on this cover. In the first
No.
cover is the
Yeah, I
one that,
remember.
but I don't know if I'm going to get too much more into the massive verse.
Mm,
But I feel like Dead Lucky probably speaks volumes onto how well it is like written and portrayed. So
nice.
if they ever do come up on Comixology, like the other ones, like I think the main one's Radiant Black. That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and there's a whole slew of other characters, and they all have their own city, as far as I can tell, that they work in.
Mm,
And so I'm really enjoying it. It's written by Melissa Flores. The art is done by French Carlo Magno, and it's colored by. Oh, that's why I was thinking I might have Mattia Monaco's. I had the colorist for this is Mattia Iacano or
okay.
Iacano.
There you go.
And then it's lettered by Becca Carey. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. This was issue 3 that came out I think 2 weeks ago. I finally read it this last week, and yeah. So if anybody's wondering if Dead Lucky's any good, yeah, I'd give it a shot. So
Nice. Good call. The last comic that I want to do, just a little shout out to. Don't really have much to say, but it is Do a Power Bomb. Uh, this had a little bit of a surprise ending.
okay,
Not too much, but it was one thing I've enjoyed about this comic is that it does kind of a good job of keeping it rolling. It doesn't really get
yeah,
stale. There's kind of new stakes in every issue, and this didn't really kind of end where you think it was. So if you're a fan of wrestling and supernatural stuff, I would
and
definitely
having the
recommend.
rug pulled out from underneath you.
Oh my goodness, there are a couple of those moments in this comic. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's very bloody issue. They do like a no holds bars match. This was the final match in like the tournament, and then I really don't want to spoil anything for people that would be reading it, but yeah, it takes maybe some turns that you wouldn't normally expect this route to go. But yeah,
Right on.
I'm enjoying it. So I
Cool.
wanted to dive into what is that? Deep Space
Wild.
Wildfires.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but
Maybe
like you
that's
were
for this
talking
week.
about, yeah. Well, what you were talking about with one of the comics earlier is I have issue 4. I haven't started reading it, so I'm just like, well, might as well just wait for the whole thing to come out because I'm sure from everything that I've heard, it's really good. So I
Yeah,
imagine I'm gonna get to issue 4 and then just be like, where's the next one? So maybe I'll just treat myself when it comes, when the arc is finished, I'll just burn through them all and enjoy the story
yeah.
that way.
No,
So
and I got a few of those going on. Like Berserker's one of them. The final issue of Berserker comes out next month, I think. And I also just read that Keanu signed a movie or TV show deal to reimagine it into that form of media.
yeah,
So
no one I think is
and
surprised
then
about that.
yeah, I don't think anybody should be. And then the guys on Comic Book Layers, one of them's kind of on the same. Like he actually reassured me of like my decision to stop reading it and wait until it finishes because I think I have to read. I think issue 11 is the final one, and I think I have yeah
Oh,
issue
he's
issue
grabbing it.
issue 8 is where I'm going to be starting. So I've read 1 through 7. So the last 4 I will read sequentially.
Yeah,
But the guy on Comic Book Layer is just like, man, I kind of like wish I hadn't read this far because like it's hard to remember everything that's happened.
yeah. That would make
Be-
sense, especially if like 10 issues trying to remember everything to like have a satisfying ending can be very difficult, I would
yeah,
imagine.
and so yeah, so I'm kind of glad that I chose to push pause on this and just wait for the rest of them to come out. I would have saved some money, yes, if I had just not got any of the issues at all and just waited for the trade paperback. But I mean, who wants to do that?
Who
Who
wants
wants
to
to
save
wait for the
money?
trade paperback
Not
and
in this
save money?
economy.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
spend all your money, do it.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, man. So I think that I covered most of them. I'm really excited about my pools that I got this week. There's,
Yeah,
Above Snakes, The Silver Coin. Those are comics that I really love. So
we
I'm
got some good
excited
reading
to
ahead of us this week.
my goodness, man. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Well, let's land this bird. Let's say thank you to Andy and Anthony and Moon Knight K for joining us and chatting with us.
Yep.
Um, and Tim, where can people find us?
You can find us at Poolbox Pals we are on Twitter. We are on, what's that other one called? TikTok. Instagram is where we're most active. If you want to follow that, We as individuals, you can find Mark over at mad_nerdy and me at that monk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we usually try to post a couple reviews a week and yeah, just other stuff. I'm trying to be more interactive on my Instagram story of just like sharing cool art that I see or like just random
Yeah.
fun like comic book or like video game memes. So
And
yeah,
I've
come
sadly
over.
been a bit inactive the last
Yeah,
couple weeks, but I've been a busy guy.
we
So,
both have been. But hey, that's comics,
that's
baby.
comics, baby.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming along. Make sure that you give us a like and subscribe wherever you can like and subscribe. Tell your friends about this. We'd love to build a community. And also like thank you to everybody who commented and had a question for us. We got a new friend. We're always looking to make new friends. We're in the process of getting a Discord set up, mostly just trying to figure out how the hell that thing works. But
Yep.
I do have a Discord. I'm at that monk guy, but then you also have to add numbers at the end because so then people can have the same screen name. So it's a whole thing. If you want to add me on Discord, just send me a message on Instagram and I'll send it to you or something like that. We'll figure it out.
I
Um,
got it.
yeah, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. It's mucho appreciated. And as we say here at the end of every episode of Pull Box Pals, that's comics, baby.